Imagine what would happen when you have to relive the same day over and over again, eventually maxing out all your stats. The story begins with Lin Yui, who has an accident while on his way to an examination. However, he notices that his soul has traveled into a new realm called Hongmen Continent. When he wakes up, he goes to the immortal sect to seek a being named the Tao in order to open his opportunities. On getting there, the disciples there send him away, referring to him as immortal realm trash. While walking through the woods, he sees a lady being harassed by a man. When he tries to help her, the man stabs him. This made Lin come to the realization that he has to get strong. Just as he said, after thousands of years, Lin becomes strong and finds himself in that same day when he wanted to help the lady. He tells her about all that he has achieved, but she does not believe him. Instead, she ignores him and goes away, even after being warned by Lin that the men that are after her are also in the direction she is heading towards. After walking for a while, the lady sees the men, just as Lin had warned, and she runs back to him. Fortunately, he fights them off, defeating them. Then, he asks her to follow him. He takes the lady to a tree that has a secret passage, and he tells her that she should follow him to the end of the secret passage if she wants to know who is after her life. And as they enter the passage, Lin and the lady sees a man whom the lady recognizes as Ju, and he asks the lady why she is not affected with the poison he had given her yet, as he wants to use her body to cultivate so that he would go to a higher level. Ju also asks the lady why she is walking with a person in the mortal realm like Lin. Then he immediately orders his men to attack Lin, and Lin suddenly kills the men instantly, and this makes Ju shocked as he begins to wonder who Lin is. As Lin insults Ju, he notices that Lin is an envoy from his statements, but before Ju could understand what is going on, Lin suddenly hits him from behind and tells him to cut one of his hands behind, but Ju begins to apologize, and he begs Lin that he should let him go. Ju takes a knife and cuts off one of his arm, and he runs away after then. Lin tells the lady that he would help her with the poison, and he immediately calls on a Naming Phoenix, which makes the lady to wonder who he is, and Lin replies to her as he explains to her that he has reached some level in cultivation that makes him to be able to master those powers. Suddenly, the poison begins to react on the lady after telling Lin that she is engaged to the 7 Demon Emperor, and Lin tells her that he is going to help her with the poison. The following morning, Lin wakes up, and he is surprised to see the lady beside him. And he also realizes that he is already free from the reincarnation cycle. But he also notices that the lady remembers him, and he tells himself that he would be responsible for her. And he also makes up his mind that he would begin a new level of cultivation starting from Wangshan clan. A lady suddenly approached, and Lin recognizes her as Yan King, and she yells that she would save the lady from Lin. Then she uses her powers to set the dragon net, which the lady immediately tells Lin that he would not be able to get out of it once he is trapped in it, but Lin tells her that he would take care of it. Lin uses his power to break the dragon net with one slash, and King becomes surprised at this. Then Lin tells Ting that her father had sent him to tell her that he does not hate her anymore, and she tells him that she wants to know how he got to know about her father's whereabouts. Then he tells her to follow him to the clan. Lin follows King and the lady to the clan, and when he gets there, he instructs King to hit some disciples that were talking behind him. And later he tells Wang that he wants to see suzerain Kinja, but King tells him that she might not want to see him, and Lin tells her a coded message that she should tell Kin the message, and when Kin hears it, she would want to speak to him. Lin tells the lady to go and have some rest, and he also tells Ting that he would wait for her as she goes to relay his message. While waiting, Lin notices some disciples practicing sword techniques, and as he moves closer to them, the disciples he had instructed Wing to hit earlier begins to get scared, but he tells them to speak to him casually. The lady practicing, who is referred to as the Junior Master, then asks Lin who he is, and Lin tells her that he is a nobody, that he just wanted to tell her that the sword technique she did was wrong. And this makes the Junior Master shocked, as no one knows the name of the technique she had just used. The Junior Master asks Lin what the correct method is, and when he tells her, she becomes surprised, and he also adds that something is wrong with her Tao, and he volunteers to teach her, but he tells her that his arm aches, and while she helps him to massage it, King comes back and tells Lin that the elders are already waiting for him, and she also yells at the Junior Master that she should continue her training so that she can break through a new level of cultivation. Then the Junior Master tells her all what Lin had told her, and when she practices it, she becomes better, and King becomes shocked as she is not able to decipher the technique to know what Lin had told the Junior Master. The elder asks Lin how he knows of the techniques in her clan, and Lin tells her that he knows a lot about the Khan, and he also knows that he got injured while practicing the night before, and this makes the chief surprised. Then, Lin walks up to her and tells her that he knows about the problems of the clan, and he tells them that he would help them on the condition that they let him borrow the Supreme Clear Pond for a while. Ju's father kills the men who were guarding Ju when he met with Lin, and Ju asks his father if Lin is truly not an envoy, and his father tells him that the envoy is invincible, which makes him even scared of the envoy, and he cannot be a mere man from the mortal realm. Ju's father then promised him that he would kill Lin for taking advantage of his son. Meanwhile, the chief of the clan tells Lin that she would accept his offer, and he immediately tells her that she should meet him at the clear pond in the night. But as the chief asks why they cannot go immediately, he tells her that he has to take care of the trouble that is going to happen to them soon. Suddenly, Senior Xuan, who is Ju's father, enters the room, and he asks the chief of the saint was brought back by King, and after the chief affirms his question, Xuan asks the chief if Lin was the one who kidnapped the saint, but without waiting for the chief's response, Xuan immediately uses his power and tries to attack Lin, but Lin tells him that he does not know why Xuan is enthusiastic about meeting him for the first time. Xuan becomes surprised as he suddenly sees Lin behind him. Then he tells the chief that he is concerned because the saint holds an important role in the clan, and he thought the person who kidnapped her should have been in jail. The chief then tells Xuan that Lin helped the saint, and if not for him, the saint would have been in grave danger, and she also adds that she is making Lin the little saint, just like the little saint Yai that he had saved. Elder Xuan becomes surprised. He immediately pretends, and he congratulates Lin, and he begins to wonder why the chief would do something as ridiculous as what she has done. After Elder Xuan had left, the chief tells Lin that he had to stay with Ting so that he would avoid trouble as Elder Xuan is already angry at him. In the apartment given to him, the junior master named Jian Shir comes to meet Lin that she wants to stay beside him so that he would be giving her advices on Dao techniques, but Lin discharges her as he tells her that he has something to do and he would teach her later. Elder Xuan and Ju begins to discuss as they wonder why the chief had given Lin a title. Then Ju tells his father that he thinks there is something fishy about Lin as he was able to detoxify the poison he had given Yadi, and his father tells him that they would have to kill Lin. Suddenly, Lin comes in and asks them who is after his life. Then he tells Tuan how he has not been able to solve the problem given to him. Lin brings out a pill, which is an antidote to the poison Xuan has in his heart, and on seeing this, he quickly kneels before Lin as he begs him that he is truly the envoy. And he also tells Ju to bow before Lin, and as they bow, Lin tells him that he would give him the pill. After taking the pill, Lin tells Xuan that he should continue to obey him, and if he disobeys him, he would make the pill lose its effectiveness and make him die of the poison in his body. Xuan assures Lin that he would never disobey him, and when he raises his head, he notices that Lin has gone. Meanwhile, Lin gets to the Supreme Pond and he takes off his clothes, and as the chief Kinja comes in, he tells her to remove her clothes, and she tells him that it is not possible, and he replies her that she would have to remove her clothes because it is important if she wants to learn the Great Ruin Dream technique. Kinja removes her clothes, and Lin uses his power to hit her from the back, and she immediately starts to feel calm and relaxed, and Lin begins to tell her what the technique is all about. Lin tells Kinja that he cannot control the yin tai in her, and she needs it, so that she would be able to break through the Ruin Dream technique, but as she asks him how long it would take him to be able to control it, he tells her that it would take him half a year, and if his cultivation increases, it would be lesser. Lin also tells her about the upcoming battle, and she tells him that of all the clans in the continent, her clan is the weakest, and this makes her to have given up on the Hongmeng battle, but Lin tells her that he would help them, and he leaves her, as he notices that his battle body has increased because of the pond, and he tells Qin to wait for him at the pond the next day at the same time. On getting to his apartment, Lin sees Jian outside, and when he asks why, she tells him that the little saint has been waiting for him. As Lin enters the house, Yidi hugs him, and she asks him if her sister Qin did not give him a hard time, and she also tells him that she hears that he is given the title of the Saint King. She then tells him that she owes her life to him, and she has become his woman, and she would cancel the marriage between herself and the Demon Emperor in 2 years. Then Lin tells her that he would make sure she does not walk in the road of death as she has become his woman. Ye tells Lin that she has to go as it is already getting late, and she also tells Lin that Jan is her best friend and he should try to guide her well. As soon as they leave the room, Jan begins to wonder the kind of relationship that is between Lin and Yedi as she escorts her back. After the two girls have gone, Lin says that he would love that King comes to spend the night with him as her other disciples have left, and Wing becomes shocked as she has been hiding from him, and she doesn't know he got to know that she is with him. King comes out from where she is hiding, and she tells Lin to behave himself as she is one of the elders of the sect, but Lin tells her to enter the apartment with him as it would be easy for her to know her father's whereabouts if they are living together. Lin tells King to sit with him, and he would tell her when it is time for her to know where her father is. Then she begins to wonder what he is trying to do, but as she looks at him, she sees that he has fallen asleep. The following morning, Ting wakes up, and she sees that Lin is awake as he stands by the window. Then he asks her if she has any plans towards the coming Hongming battle, but she replies him that their strength is weak, and if they participate, would not win as they would lose quickly. Lin explains to her that they would win if they might get help from few people. And he also adds that the first person is herself, as he would teach her the sword Dao technique, and the second person is himself, but he would have to talk to the third person, who is Long Lin, the 7th Palace Elder. He asks her if she knows where Long Lin is, and when she tells him, she also adds that no one is allowed to go there, but he tells her that she would not worry as he would go there with Jian. On their way to the mountain, Lin tells Jian about Long Lin, and he asks her if she would dare to fight him if she is given the chance, but Jian tells him that she is no match for the elder. Then Lin tells her the technique on how to defeat Long Lin. Suddenly, they enter the forbidden place in the mountain, and Lin immediately saves Jian from Long's blades. Lin then tells Long that he has heard of his mightiness, and he has come to ask for a fight, but he tells him that he is going to be fighting with Jian. The fight begins, and Jian tells Long that she is a disciple in the sect, and when Long attacks her, she takes the moves as Lin had told her. Then, on the last move, she tells Long that she is going to attack him, but he tells her that she would not be able to dodge his last move. But he becomes surprised when Jian takes advantage and gives Long a little cut. Then the duel finishes, and Long asks Lin if he had deliberately told Jian to take his moves, and he also asks him how he is able to know about the flaw of his last move. Then Lin tells him that there is a flaw in the 7th and 10th move of the secret dragon scale technique. Long asks him how he knows about the 10th move, even when he did not do it. Then Lin picks up a stick and tells him that he would use it as a sword, and he would defeat him with just a move. Long gets shocked with what Lin is saying, and he agrees. Then he tells Lin to try to take a sword from him, and Lin tells him that he should not hesitate and put in his all in the attack. Long uses his sword to hit the ground, and Lin jumps over it and tells him that it is just as he expected, but Long uses his highest sword technique, and Lin stretches out the stick as he tells Lin that he is going to use his 10th form, and Long begins to wonder what kind of attack it is. After seeing the skills, Long kneels in front of Lin, and he tells him that he has never seen such technique before, but Lin tells him that it is a part of the 7 moves technique he did, but it is an upgraded version of it. Long asks for Lin's name, and Jian tells him that Lin is the new Saint King that was proclaimed by the chief herself. Then Long tells Lin that he would love to learn from him later, and Lin tells him about his plan for the Hongming tournament, but Long tells him that the sect is the weakest of all in the continent, and he would not be able to find a good opponent that would face him. Lin then assures Long that he would teach them and make their strength multiplied before the tournament, and Long agrees to follow them back to the sect. On getting to the sect, King tells Lin that she was able to save Elder Liu, who is the 3rd Palace Elder, and Elder Liu begins to thank Lin for sending King to save him. Then he asks Lin how he found out that the other sects were rebelling, and he tells them that he would let them know later. Jian comes to tell them that the chief has summoned them for a meeting along with other elders, and when they get inside, they are told that the Red Haven Pavilion Master, Xiao Yo, is visiting their sect personally, and they find it strange as the Hongming tournament is about to take place soon, and the Red Pavilion had always opposed them before. The chief asks all the elders seated, including Lin, what they think regarding the matter. Lin tells them that Xiao Yo is coming to test them, but some of the elders say that they do not think they are coming to test them, as they are weak. Then Elder Xuan stands up, and he tells them that he agrees with Lin as his point is valid. Then everyone present begins to wonder what Lin has done to Xuan that has made him stand up for him. The chief also throws a question asking what they can do if they are attacked, and Lin tells them that they would just have to kill some of them, but some elders does not agree with him on his decision, but Xuan stand up and supports Lin again, and Long also supports along with some of the elders, and the chief asks Lin who he thinks can defeat the Red Pavilion sect, and he tells her that they would have to make sure their sect can beat the Red Pavilion sect by the following day. Lin tells them that he is tired, and as he leaves, Xuan goes to meet him, and he asks him if he performed well. But Lin tells him that he has tried, but it is not enough for him. Lin then tells Xuan that he wants him to kill someone for him, and he would tell him how he would go about it later, but as Lin begins to head out, Elder Liu goes to him again to thank him, and he also tells him that he has reported the case of the rebellion to the chief. Then Lin tells Elder Liu that he would need his help in the Hongming tournament, but Liu tells him that his 5th grade spear has broken, and Lin tells him that when the time is right, he would give him a 9th grade spear. Later that night, Lin and the chief can continue her healing process, and Lin asks her if she wants to know why Elder Xuan is standing up for him. But she tells him that the sect is all his people, and Lin notices that she is doubting him for trying to help them, and she begins to tell herself that she has to rely on him, and he also beckons on her to move closer to him as he wants to share a secret with her. Lin tells Qin that Elder Xuan is a pawn planted in the sect by the Demon Sea, and he also tells her that he can take her to see some evidence if she wants, and she immediately puts on her clothes and she follows Lin. Meanwhile, Xuan is fighting with Yin Kuai, who is also an elder of the sect, and he explains to him that Lin is the envoy, and this time, Lin has arrived at the scene with Qin. Then he tells her to watch and asks him questions later. But they suddenly sees that Yin is changing to the 9 burning incarnation, and Qin tells Lin that Xuan is no match for Yin, and Lin tells her that she should go and help him out. Lin takes a stone, and he uses his strength to throw the stone at Yin, and it immediately gives Xuan the advantage to attack Yin, and after Xuan is able to defeat Yin. As Qin is about to stand up to go and watch, Lin tells her to wait as it is not over yet. Then they stay hidden and watch, and Qin notices that Yin is not dead. Elder Yin stands up, and he tells himself that he wants to go and report the matter to the Demon Lord. But as he begins to go, Lin and Qin moves towards him, and Lin tells him that it is a coincidence, but he is going to let Qin take care of it as he is going to look for Xuan. But as Lin leaves, Qin brings out her sword, and Yin realizes that he has been found out. Then she uses her sword as to defeat him, and as he is laying on the floor, she tells him that he has underestimated her, but she is shocked when she sees him laughing at her. Lin runs and meets Elder Xuan as he is running away, and he immediately tells him that he should go to the refining clan to pick up the Phoenix Tear Spear as Yin has faked his own death. Then Xuan sees that Lin has spared his life, and he vows to do whatever Lin tells him to do. Lin goes back to where he had left Qin with Elder Yin, and he sees that Qin has been tied upside down, and he also sees that Elder Yin has turned into the Demon Seahorn tribe. Then Qin becomes surprised as she sees this. He begins to tell her how much he admires her, and asks her if she knows that he loves her. As Yin tries to touch Qin, his hand is suddenly chopped off, and he immediately recognizes the skill, and he begins to wonder if someone can have such skill in the sect, and he suddenly sees that it is Lin, and soon, Lin uses his powers to defeat Yin, and he rescues Qin. After leaving the scene, Qin begins to feel bad as she wonders if it was the same elder she has known before. Then, Lin explains to her, and tells her that it is the demonized version of Elder Yin. Lin also tells her that he would help her, and she has to get well first, and they would have to retrieve the sect and break the Red Heaven Pavilion, and later end it with the Demon Sea, and also take out things of the Dao River in the Hongming tournament. The following morning, in Lin's apartment, Qin sleeps, and she suddenly wakes up to see Lin beside her, and she begins to wonder if they slept together. Then she tells him that she has to prepare to receive Xiao Yao, but as she is about to leave, Jian comes, and she is shocked to see the chief in Lin's house, but Qin tells her that she quickly came to see Lin. Lin then comes out, and he tells them that they have both come to disturb him early in the morning, and Qin becomes shocked as Lin saves her. Xiao Yao is met by Qin and some of the sect palace elders, and he begins to tell them that he had missed them. But when Qin tells him not to mess around, he tells them that he brought 5 worst students from his sect, so that they can spar with the disciples of the Forgotten Immortal sect because of the coming Hongming tournament. The disciples of the sect begins to check out the students from the Red Pavilion sect, and notices that they are all in the reincarnation realm. An elder in the sect then tells Xiao Yao that he can defeat all of them, and Xiao Yao teases them. Then Lin walks in. Suddenly, Andy apologizes to the sect chief for coming late. Then Qin orders them that they should all move to the sparing stage for sparing among the disciples. At the stage, Xiao Yao asks Qin where Elder Xuan is, as he thinks he can use the quarrel between Qin and the elder to his own advantage. But Qin tells him that he had important work to do. Xiao Yao tells one of his disciples, Zhu, that she should go first, and she should follow the guide from the Immortal Sect's elder. The elders begins to panic as they do not have someone strong enough to go and fight. Then they turn to Lin for some advice, and he tells them that they had all opposed his decision at their previous meeting, and after their pleas, he decides to help them. Lin then tells Jian to go forward, and when she introduces herself to the opponent, Zhu begins to laugh as she asks Jian if she is asking for a death wish, and the other disciples from the Immortal Sect yells at Jian to accept defeat already. So the fight starts, and Qin asks Lin if Jian can fight, and he tells her that she would be able to do it. After dodging a move from Zhu, Jian uses the 10th sword form and tries to break Zhu's indestructible Kong defense. Jian uses her sword technique to break Zhu's defense, and she is decorated the winner, and everyone becomes surprised. Then Lin tells Qin that he is feeling thirsty, and he leaves to get water. One of the elders of the Immortal Sect begins to tell the other that he thinks Qin is serving Lin, and they all agree with him. Zhu goes to meet her master, and she tells him that she doesn't know how Jian was able to see all her flaws, but he tells her that it is Lin that had seen all her flaws. Then she asks him what he means, and he tells her not to worry about it, as he tells Ji Zhen that he is the next to fight. Zhen goes to the stage, and as Qin asks Lin who is going to fight next, Lin tells her that he would fight as he wants to play a little. Then he walks to the stage, while the disciples wonder why he is fighting, as he is supposed to be treated like a prince. Lin faces Zhen, and when Zhen asks for his name, he tells him that he does not need to know his name as he is already dead. So the fight starts, and as Zhen tries to attack Lin, he dodges all the attack, and he hits him once, which makes Zhen fall to the ground. And when he tries to retreat, Lin uses his power to kill Zhen. Xiao Yao yells at Lin for killing one of his disciples, and as they begins to talk, Lin sees a ring on the floor and he immediately picks it. Then he tells Xiao Yao to send the other two disciples to fight him at once, but Xiao Yao tells the disciples not to go and fight as Lin would kill them the way he has killed Zhen. Zhu goes to where Zhen's dead body is, and she immediately tells her master that his storage ring is missing, and Xiao Yao begins to yell at them for stealing from them. But Qin tells him that he has nothing to prove that the ring was for Zhen, and Zhu immediately tells them that the ring contained 2,000 bright iron in it. Lin then opens the ring and he shows them that there is at least 5,000 bright iron in it, and he adds that the ring is clearly not for Zhen. Zhu begins to hit Chen's dead body that he has lied to her, and suddenly, Elder Xuan comes and he tells Lin that he has gotten the 9th grade spear he had asked him to bring. Then, Lin tells himself that Xuan had come at the right time, which makes everything to go according to his plans. Xuan tells Lin that the spear has restrictions, but as Lin collects the spear from him, he tells him that he knows how to break the restrictions. Lin takes the spear and tells them that it is a good spear, and Xiao Yao becomes shocked as he begins to ask himself how Xuan was able to get the spear, because it was meant to be a gift to his Red Heaven Pavilion sect from the refining sect. Lin then takes an order out of the storage ring, and he uses it to remove the restriction on the spear, and this makes Xiao Yao wonder how Lin knew that the order was in the ring. Lin then tells everyone that the Tool Refining clan wants to please the Red Heaven Pavilion clan because it is the Red Heaven order that can remove the restrictions on the spear. Then he immediately tosses the spear at Elder Liu, and Elder Liu thanks Lin while he lets the spear take him as its new master. The other elder then tells themselves that they need to be of good behavior so that the Saint King would give them a good weapon. Later then Elder Liu says that he can now defeat anyone with his newly acquired weapon, and Elder Lin also tells him that he would join him. Then Lin tells Xiao Yao that he should never bully the Immortal Sect again. Then Xiao Yao asks Lin for his name, but Lin refuses to tell him, and he leaves with his disciples, while the disciples of the Immortal Sect hails Lin's name. Lin goes to meet Qin, and he tells her that they are able to know about the Tool Refining Sect because of Elder Xuan, and he needs to be rewarded. Then Elder Xuan tells them that he would do anything the Saint King tells him to do, and soon Lin calls King and Xuan with some of the elders that he has some things to discuss with them. Lin gives the elders a list and he tells them that it is what they would need in preparation for the Hongming tournament, and they all assure him that he would see everything as they would all bring it at all cost. King tells Lin that she suspects that he has gotten a weird idea, and she also adds that she feels like all what he has asked for is useless, but he tells her that she would see as the result would turn out. Then he asks her if he can take John to the Taishan King Pond, but Qin opposes it and tells him that John is just a little girl, but he tells her that she is not so little. At the pond, Lin tells John that she should guard him as he is going to heal in the pond for a while, and when he goes inside the water, he sees Yai, and he asks her what she is doing in the pond, but she tells him that her sister Qin had told her that he was coming to the pond to heal, so she wanted to see him. Ye tells Lin that he has gotten stronger ever since he entered the Immortal Clan, but as she moves towards him, he asks her what he is good at in her eyes, and she immediately whims to kiss him. After Yai leaves, Lin continues to heal as he uses the contents of the storage ring to make a huge plasma ball which Jan recognizes as the Tradition Calamity. The huge impact is seen by the other elders, and they tell themselves that it must be the Saint King. As Jian sees that the transition is much, she immediately steps in, and as she tries to save the Saint King, she becomes unconscious. Then Lin breaks through, and he breaks through to another realm in cultivation, and he also rescues John, who wakes up, and he puts her down with some instructions that would also make her break through to another level of the Dao Sword technique and the 3 burning incarnation realm. The elders come to meet Lin, and they hand all what he had sent them to get for him. Then they also tell him how good the materials are for cultivation, but he tells himself that he has another purpose for the materials. Lin goes to meet Qin, and as he collects the materials she helped him to look for, he tells her that the quality of life and the death talisman she got for him is not bad. Then he also tells her to ask him any question she has, and she immediately asks him what it is for as she has read the materials, and he tells her that he is going to refine a high-grade puppet. Lin begins to mix the materials together, and he announces that the success or failure of the materials would be determined in few seconds, and he also adds that if he fails, he would not get the puppet, and he would also suffer a backlash. And suddenly, a figure begins to appear from the mixture. The figure begins to greet Lin as its master. Then Qin asks him if the high-grade puppet is malfunctioning, and Lin tells her that they succeeded even though the high-grade puppet is ugly. He also adds that the puppet has a lot of room for improvement, which will be the greatest support for the improvement of their cultivation, and he tells Qin that he has just broken through as he hits the high-grade puppet, and he informs her that he would go and tells the other elders to come and practice with the puppet. As Lin leaves, Qin begins to wonder as she asks herself who Lin is because he is able to break through many levels in few days, which also makes him improve on his skills better. Lin goes to where the elders in Jian are training and he tells them to stop whatever they are doing as he wants to spar with them. Then King asks him if they are practicing wrongly, but he tells them that he just wants to teach them. He tells Elder Liu to spar with him with the 9th grade Phoenix Spear, but Elder Liu tells him that he does not dare to fight with his benefactor, but Lin tells him they would talk about the moves if he can defeat him, and he also adds that he would allow him to make the first move. Soon, Elder Liu and Lin begins, and when Elder Liu makes his first move, Lin uses his hand to catch the spear and Elder Liu becomes surprised then. Lin tells Elder Liu to use all his strength then as Elder Liu makes his move, Lin dodges it, and he uses his skill as he points his finger at Elder Liu's eyes and Elder Liu become more shocked than ever. Lin collects the spear from Elder Liu, and he uses his finger to hit him on the forehead, and he also tells the rest that they should all attack him at once, but Elder Liu tells him that he would get a backlash from using the spear as the spear already knows its master, but Lin tells him that he has to worry about collecting the spear from him first. As they attack Lin, he uses the spear to defeat all of them, and they all become amazed, and he tells them about the 3 fundamental balance cultivation. Then as he uses his skills, a huge thunder begins to show in the sky, and he tells them that the thunder calamity has arrived, as the 3 fundamental balance cultivation is a heaven-defying thing. The elders then tell Lin that they'd like to help him to defeat the thunder calamity, and they all proceed to go to fight the thunder calamity, while other disciples outside begin to wonder why the thunder calamity is disturbing their sect. Later, Lin tells the elders that they were able to defeat the thunder calamity, which was a good opportunity for them to improve their cultivations. The elders thank Lin, and he tells them that he has to leave as he has some things to do. Later that night, Lin helps Qin with her cultivation, and she asks him if he had made a huge commotion. Then he tells her that he only took advantage of a weapon. Qin also informs him about an auction, which is to take place in Night King City, and she adds that he might go there to try his luck. Lin recounts how the city is a place where high-ranking people visit, and Win tells him that the new item that is up for auction is a mysterious beast egg, and she tells him that she heard that the auction house does not know the details of the egg. Lin then asks her for the amount of brilliant beads they have in the treasury, and she tells him that they have more than 100 million beads. Then she asks him if he is going to the auction. Qin tells Lin that the auction is not in the Hongming continent, and it is in a Northern Star territory, but he tells her that he wants to go there to also get something that the plug-in grade puppet needs, and he would also take the key to the Dao River on the way. Qin then asks Lin if his aim of winning the Hongming tournament is related to the key of the Dao River. Then he tells her that there is a dense high level in the river, which is suitable for her to train in, but he also tells her that there is a man trapped in another layer of the Dao River, and the man needs to be rescued. Qin becomes shocked as she asks him how he knows that there is a man trapped in a layer of the river, but he tells her that there are a lot of secrets in the world. Lin gets out of the water, and he tells Qin that he needs to get prepared for his trip to the Night King City, but as he walks away, Qin asks him who he is taking along, and he tells her that he would go by himself as he might meet some of his old friends. As Lin leaves Qin, he tells himself that they must have broken through the transcendent realm as soon as possible, because it would give them a huge opportunity in the tournament, and he also adds that the tournament would be dangerous. The following morning, Lin sets to go to the Night King City, and he tells the elders and John that he has shown them how to improve on their cultivation, as he would see the results when he returns from his journey. Then the elders all bow and thank him. As Lin leaves in the ship, he tells himself that he would go to rescue Senior Sumru when he gets the key, and he also tells himself that he would use his great son Dao method as well, but as Lin practices the method, he forgets that he is on a ship and the Dao method breaks his ship. Lin then thinks of what to do, and he decides to jump out of his ship so that he would be able to see if there is any ship nearby to help him, but as he lands in a ship, he sees some men who tells him not to board their ship when he asks if he can tag along with them. Lin asks the men if they are the owner of the ship, and the lady amongst them tells him that she is the owner and the men had come to rob her ship. Lin recognizes the lady as Lu Yixu, who is an old apprentice, and the lady also remembers him as her master, and she begins to wonder how he has jumped on her ship all of a sudden. Lin tells the men that he has a death wish, and he asks them who is going to kill him, but the leader of the men introduces himself as the vice president of the Flying Cloud Chamber, and he asks Lin for his name, but Lin tells him that people who are going to die does not need to know his name, and he immediately uses the Dao method on the man. Lin immediately burns their leader, and the leader informs his men to run away as Lin appears to be very dangerous, and Lin immediately uses his powers to burn them, and tells them that they deserve to die as well. Lin immediately picks up a ring from the floor, and the owner of the ship thanks him, but he tells her that he was only killing some bugs, and she does not need to be disturbed. He immediately asks for their rings, and she agrees to give it to him, and Lin realizes that a lot has happened when he left the reincarnation circle. While Yixu begins to talk to him, she realizes that he knows her name, and Shanner immediately sees that he is handsome and asks Lin to play with her. Lin immediately accepts despite Yixu's caution, and he looks forward to the trip to the Night King city. Yixu begins to tell Lin that they will have to go through the back gate as they are not going to be able to go through the front gate, and they immediately see that thundercloud ship. Yixu immediately tells them to back off as if they offend them they are going to die. Zhang, who is the leader of the Thundercloud sect, immediately comes out and tells them that he is going to break the record for the amount if Brilliant Kai Nixu informs Lin that they have to allow them pass, and Lin sees that he is not going to bother them as he is just a weakling. Zhang immediately jumps down from his ship in an attempt to show them how powerful he is, but Lin immediately evaluates his attributes and tells them that he is no match to the Night City King. Zhang immediately hops on the test, and he promises to break their city's lord's record. Zhang immediately starts the test, and he is being cheered on by members of his sect, and he continues to ascend. The elders begin to convince Yixu to go over to see Zhang, but they inform her that he is a pervert and any lady that goes to him will never escape him. She then tells the elders that she will decide about it later, but they try to convince her to go and meet him. They notice that she has refused their request and decide to go on their own. Zhang continues the test and begins to bleed, and he sees that he is already at his limit, and he sees that Elder Chou and the other elders have come to congratulate him. He immediately uses them as an excuse for not completing his test and tells them that they deserve to die. Yixu and other members of her ship begin to panic, and Zhang takes them out and blames them for him not being able to complete the record. Zhang immediately sees that there is someone else, and he sees that it is the daughter of the Night King City, and Feng, who is the young master of the Ling Tian Hall, asks her why she is bothered about the teat, and she tells him that she is looking at Lin and wonders why he is so calm and he looks scary. Feng immediately thinks he is just scared and thinks they are pretending and plans to show her. Feng immediately begins to mock Zhang, and Zhang gets angry and plans to attack Yixu and her group. Shanner immediately gets on top of the ship and calls Zhang the bad person for attacking them, and Zhang immediately feels insulted and challenges all of them. Zhang immediately seals their entire ship with a space law array, and they begin to panic. Ming, who is the daughter of the Night King City King, immediately begins to plan to help them, but Feng stops her and advises her to keep looking at them and see if they will save themselves. Zhang immediately charges towards them, but Lin immediately blocks him and stops him from getting to the ship. They all become relieved that they are saved, and Lin plans to play an exciting game with him since he plans on killing them all. Lin immediately combines his powers, and everyone around the scene begins to wonder what is going on as they see that the Pillar of Light has almost reached 8,000 feet. They begin to watch Lin, and he gets to 10,000 feet, and Ming sees that he has broken her father's record. Lin immediately sees it as an opportunity for everyone in the city to move their attention towards him. Zhang begins to wonder how he would have so much Qu in his body, and sees that he will die with so much pressure. Singhi immediately gets the news that someone has broken the record of the city lord, and he goes out to see that the pillar has gotten to 20,000 feet, and begins to wonder if the descendants of the great sects have arrived in their city. Lin finally kills Zhang and informs members of his sect to come for his body, and members of his sect become angry and threaten to kill him. Yixu immediately shouts at her men to shut up, as if it weren't for Lin, they will all be dead. They immediately notice that Lin is back, and he tells Shanner that it was just a small problem, and they should not be bothered. The members of Zhang's sect then inform Lin to follow them, or they plan to kill everyone on board his ship, and the daughter of the city lord comes and stops them from killing them. They immediately demand a proper explanation from the young miss, but she asks them what they will do if she does not give them any explanation. The members of the Night City King then notice that the Thundercloud sect has a very big problem, and Sing tells his miss that he is sorry for being late, and she tells him that she is not sure that they are interested in the auction and orders him to tell them to leave. The Thundercloud sect then decides to be on their way, and Mings meets Lin and demands for his name, but he remains silent. Yixu immediately informs the miss that she is friends with him and she will take full responsibility for his actions. Ming immediately sees that he is a unique guest of the city, and the city has prepared a room for him in the Hall of Visitors. Yixu immediately becomes surprised and begins to wonder what she means. They all become surprised, and the servants who have been denying him on the ship suddenly begin to beg him to come with them, and Yixu tells them that she will not relate with them anymore since they treated her in a very bad manner. Lin then asks if she will need his help to clean up the group, but she tells him not to bother as they are also a group of poor people. Ming immediately welcomes him to the Night King's city, and Feng suddenly becomes jealous of him for getting close to Ming and promises to beat him up. Ming immediately asks for his name politely, and he whispers to her not to rush, but tell her father that his nemesis is looking for him. She immediately becomes surprised, and Lin tells Dixu to follow him to the Hall of Guests. Ming begins to wonder if they should follow him and sees that he has broken her father's record, and informs Sing that there will be no need for that. Lin arrives at the guest hall and asks the attendee how long it is for the auction. He sees that it remains 2 hours, and he immediately assigns a room to Yixu and Shanner and decides to stay in the other room. Lin begins to rest in the room, and he suddenly hears someone telling him that Ming wants to see him. She comes in and asks for his name once more, and Lin finally tells her and sees that she is really beautiful, as she is one of the 3 beauties in the Northern Kingdom. She begins to interview him, and she asks him how he knew about the arrival of her father, as no one knows that except her. Lin gives her an answer that is not welcoming to her, and she sees that it is the first time a man has chased her away. She storms out of the room with anger, and she sees that Lin is pissing her off. Feng becomes surprised on seeing her, as he has never seen her so angry before, and begins to wonder if he has done something to her. He then plans to kill him after the auction. Yixu then comes in and tells him that she will be going to see the entrusted person she came to see, and Lin becomes surprised, as he thought they were going to see their parents. Lin becomes surprised, and he immediately ignores it and plans to accompany them to their destination. They arrive at the destination, and he immediately tells them to go in to take a look, and he immediately sees a lot of people beating up the people they planned to see, and Yixu tells them to stop as she plans to compensate them. She sees their chairman, and the servant tells him that all his goods are with her, and he immediately orders his men to get her. They advance towards her, and she immediately uses her powers to push them away, and the chairman becomes surprised that she has some skills. He immediately attacks her and informs his men to kill them all. Lin immediately steps forward and prevents her from getting harmed by the men. He suddenly takes out all the men with just a single move and tells them to leave the place. The servants immediately beg to be with her again, but she tells them that she has no business with them again and begins to leave the environment. Lin immediately tells them that they can stay with him, and they suddenly accept, and Shanner becomes happy she has to stay with him. Lin sees that the auction will start in a few hours and immediately plans to get some items. Yixu suddenly sees a bracelet, and Lin immediately asks how much it costs. Lin plans to buy the bracelet and asks for the price. Yixu sees that it is too expensive, but Lin pays for it, and she becomes surprised. Ming suddenly appears and sees that the jade bracelet is beautiful, and Feng asks if he should get it for her. She then begins to wonder if Lin would sell it to her, but he tells her that it already has an owner. He suddenly puts it on for Dixu, and tells her that it looks beautiful on her hands, and she suddenly becomes surprised. Ming suddenly becomes surprised, and Feng challenges him, and tells him that everything in the city belongs to her, and why he dares insult her. Lin immediately tells him that he bought it as a gift, and he will not be robbed by force. Feng then proposes to buy it for 100,000 yo iron, and Dixu tells him that it is a lot of money, but he tells her that it is too small, and he will not sell it. Feng immediately doubles the money, but Lin tells him that it is still not enough to buy the bracelet, and they all become surprised. Feng then asks him how much he wants to sell it for, and Lin tells him that he will sell it for 100 million. Feng becomes angry, but Lin warns him, if not he will end up like Zhang. Lin immediately tells them that if they cannot afford it, then they will be on their way. Ming immediately gets angry and sees that it is something she wants, and no one will stop her from getting what she wants. Yixu then asks him why he did not sell it, as they were offering a large amount of money, but he tells her that it has already been given to her, and informs her that the auction is about to start, and he does not want them to be late. They arrive at the auction, and Lin is told that his invitation has expired, and he begins to wonder if it has an expiry date. Lin and Yixu then plan to stay at the side, and Yixu sees that they were paid to stop them, seeing that the city has a history of trustworthy people. Lin then asks them to guess, and Yixu sees that they must have been paid by Feng. Shanna then asks her brother how long it will take them to get in, but Lin tells her not to worry, as the one you'll let them in is on his way. Wunian immediately arrives and begins to wonder what Lin is doing at the side of the entrance, and he goes to speak to him since he met him at the inn. Wunian greets him and asks him why he is not going in since the auction is about to start. Lin informs him that he was stopped, and the guards become surprised that they know each other, and they begin to apologize. The master becomes angry at them and immediately informs Lin to follow him into the auction. The guards immediately become relieved from his punishment, and they immediately arrive at the auction. Qin immediately asks Lin what he thinks about the auction house, but Lin tells him that he would like to hear his opinion first. Qin gives him information regarding the formation, but Lin tells him that he is wrong as he is afraid that once it is activated, it will only hold them for 3 breaths. Feng suddenly comes in and begins to wonder how he got in to talk nonsense about their formation that was laid by the Night King. Feng continues to insult Lin and asks him if he only knows how to hide behind others. Lin becomes angry and Feng and his soldiers plan to attack him, but Qin immediately attacks them and weakens his soldiers. Feng suddenly becomes affected, and he is told to remember not to speak when the adults are speaking. Other disciples of other sects begin to mock him, and Qin tells Lin that he would like to study formation, and he asks Lin for the weakness of the formation. Lin immediately tells him to come to the visitors' hall since the city lord Zhen Wushang will come see him and they will discuss it together. Everyone becomes surprised and Yixu begins to wonder who he is to get the city lord to come see him. Qin then asks him to sit with him since the auction is about to start, and Lin agrees to sit with him. Suddenly, they see the fire dragon and Ming appears and apologizes for the delay. Everyone begins to admire her, and she tells them that her father has not come out of seclusion and she will be handling the auction. She then begs them to bud more and not allow her to leave with an empty hand. Feng then tells his guard to find out where they come from as he plans to kill them, but the soldier in his mind thinks that he should mind his own business before he gets killed. Ming immediately begins the auction with the material and Feng begins the auction with 500,000, and everyone becomes disappointed. They suddenly hear someone call out 1.5 million and they notice that it is Yixu, and she begins to wonder why Lin has asked her to raise her hand. Lin then tells her that his hands are sore and Ming becomes angry as she notices that it is Yixu coming to snatch a bracelet she likes. Feng becomes angry and begins to see that Lin is planning to compete with him in wealth and bids 2 million. Lin immediately talks with his brother Qin and they increase the price to 3 million, and they successfully get the material. Lin then uses the hands that he told Yixu were hurting him to pick the material, and he hands them the money instantly. Feng then begins to mock him, seeing he bought a piece of material for just a high price. Lin smiles and immediately reveals the item he has bought, and he explains to them that it is among the top talisman, and he asks them who is blind. They become surprised as they were not able to detect it, and Ming immediately brings out the second item, and they all see that it is a very powerful sword. Ming starts the price at 1 million, and Qin asks Lin how much he thinks the sword will cost, and Lin tells him that it will cost more than 10 million for people who know more about swords. They begin to bid and Feng tries to raise the price, but Yixu raises it to 25 million, seeing that Feng has upgraded his bid for the sword. They begin to mock the Tuan Hall, seeing they have no money, and Sing sees that Lin has investigated them and he is really powerful. Feng immediately raises his hand and plans to bid for the sword again, but one of his men tries to stop him, but he refuses and asks him if he wants Lin to be above him in the future. He immediately bids 27 million, and Lin informs Yixu to give it to him. Feng receives his sword, but Qin begins to mock him, telling him that he cannot use it. Feng opens the sword and notices that it is so thin and asks Ming what is going on. Ming tells him that it was designed for women, and Feng begins to wonder why she sold it to him. They begin to laugh at him, and Ming brings out the last item for auction, and they see that it is the egg of a nameless beast, and the starting bid is 10 million. Lin immediately becomes happy, as it was the auction he was actually waiting for. Qin sees that the city has been advertising the egg, and he would like to see if it is real or fake. They then try to peek at the beast egg, but Sing immediately uses his powers to stop them from peeking at the egg. Qin sees that there are experts around to stop them from looking at the egg, and Lin asks him what he saw, but he tells him that they were driven back and asks him if he has any interest in it. Lin tells him that he has an interest in it, and Qin promises not to make a move, seeing that he has a very big need for the egg. Lin immediately thanks him and Feng immediately goes after it for 11 million, and Ming sees that no one is competing for it. Lin immediately raises his hands and bids 50 million and upgrades it, seeing that Feng has also upgraded the bid. Feng and Lin continue to increase the price, and Feng raises the price to 300 million. Feng begins to wonder how Lin would come up with 300 million, and everyone begins to wonder if he does not have it. Lin immediately stands up and asks them what if he has it. Lin then plans to draw Feng into the bid and tells him to also bring out 300 million, if he brings out 300 million, and Ming tells them to think twice before putting their lives on the line. Lin immediately tells Ming not to worry about him, and he begins to pay the money directly to the dragon. Everyone begins to count and Feng realizes that he has 300 million. Sing immediately sends his men to attack him, but Qin also sends his men to stop them. The soldiers immediately stop them, and Lin immediately tells Feng that he has paid his money, and it is turn to pay the 300 million. Feng begins to panic, and Lin immediately draws a barrier and warns them not to interrupt if they do not want to die. Lin then tells Feng that if he is a real man, he should keep his promise. Feng then attacks him and tells him that it is he that is going to die. Lin immediately blocks his needles and he tells him that he will show him how to use it. Lin immediately throws the needle at his forehead and instantly kills him. Everyone suddenly becomes surprised that Feng is dead, and Lin sees that after all the drama, the sword belongs to him and he takes his ring. The soldiers of Sing immediately attack Lin for killing Feng, but Lin tells them that he is not afraid of their haul, he just does not want to get his hands dirty. Lin immediately uses the sword bought by Feng to take out the guards, and they notice that he is so fast. Lin then asks if there is anyone that wants to bet with him, and they all remain silent. Ming immediately congratulates Lin for winning the auction and ends it. Outside the auction, Qin asks him if he is ready to deal with the troubles from the Tan Hall, and he tells Qin that the king of the city will help to deal with it. Ming then tells Sing that her father would like to see him as she is not sure what he wants. Ling Zun becomes angry for the death of his son and orders his elite troops to the Night King city. Meanwhile, Zhang's father has also gathered his troops, and they are also on their way to the Night King city to seek revenge for the death of their sons. Back at the visitors' hall, Lin begins to loom at the egg and tells it to acknowledge its master before taking any shape. Lin sees that it is a heavenly defining 9-colored beast egg and immediately uses his ring to collect the egg. Ji suddenly notices something strange, and he tells the person that has been spying on him to come in. He drags her into the room, and she tries to attack him, but he holds her leg and immediately pins her on the wall. He immediately sees that it is Ming and asks her if she is not scared that people might misunderstand that she has come to see him late at night. She immediately begins to wonder how he knew it was her, and she begins to feel ashamed of the position she is in and feels happy that her face is covered. Lin immediately lets go of her and removes her mask and asks her what she is doing in his room. She tells him that she did not expect him to be strong in battle, and she is curious how he will end after getting into so much trouble. He immediately tells her that her father will help her find a way, and she begins to wonder how her father will help him, and he tells her to leave so as to avoid any more trouble. She then becomes offended as she has been trying to help him, but she is not okay with the way he is treating her. Lin immediately reminds her about Feng, but she tells him that she does not even like him, and Lin comes close to her and asks her who she likes and tells her that she will not get another chance. She immediately tells him that she likes him and she is not comfortable with the way he is giving attention to Ixui and ignoring her. She tells him that it makes her heart uncomfortable. Lin immediately asks her to stay with him in the night, and she begins to wonder if they are already taking things too fast. Lin immediately puts her on the bed, and she immediately sees that she cannot comprehend how she is feeling as something she has kept for over 20 years is about to be taken by Lin. She begins to think he is about to have his way with her, and she sees that he immediately lies on the bed and falls asleep. She becomes surprised and begins to wonder about his background, and she watches him as he sleeps. She immediately places her hand on his chest and falls asleep. The next day, she wakes up and sees that he is awake, and Lin tells her that she is worthy of being called the beauty of Night King City as he notices that she is very beautiful. She begins to feel that he is making fun of her, and asks him if he has found a way to deal with the Thunder Cloud sect and Ling Tian Hall, and sees that he does not have any bad intentions towards her. He immediately tells her that he has formulated his own plan, and he tells her to help him out with something, and tells her to come with Sing. She then promises to help him out with the items he needs, and she immediately runs out of the room. Yuxi immediately sees her coming out of Lin's room, and begins to wonder how she got in. Yuxi then tells Lin that the two sects are on their way to him to seek revenge, and he tells her that she will stay with Shanner as she is too little. Ming then arrives with the materials and with Sing, and Sing asks him why he was summoned. Lin tells him that he would like to show him something and asks Ming to bring out the materials he asked her to bring. Lin immediately begins to refine the materials, but Sing becomes surprised and wonders how he is able to do it, seeing he is not an elder. Lin immediately tells him to watch and use it as a guide. Lin immediately forges an armor and tells them to call it an indestructible weapon. Lin finishes the armor and tells them that it is spirit armor, and they begin to wonder what it is, and he explains the process to Xing and promises to give his skills to the city. Lin then tells them that he can do it, but they will have to do something for him in return, which is helping him to deduce the fortune of the northern sex. Xing becomes surprised that he is asking for the entire northern states and sees that it is vast. He also begins to wonder if Lin will keep his word, and Lin immediately hands him the manual for the forging, and he immediately agrees to help Lin out. Xing begins to help the young master calculate what he wants, and Lin tells him that he is interested in 4 places. Lin then mentions the 4 places to him, and Xing immediately sees what he is asking, and he immediately sees someone he was not supposed to see. Xing immediately falls ill, and Lin tells him to rest for a few days. Qin immediately comes in and begins to wonder what is wrong as he hears noise. Lin then begins to explain the entire situation to him, and he tells him that he will continue later as the city lord is already with them. The lord of the city suddenly appears and tells them that he has not come in vain, and they immediately greet him and ask him to take a seat. The city lord sees that he has caused a lot of problems, and Lin tells the city lord that he has not had a breakthrough, and the city lord becomes surprised at what he said and begins to wonder how he was able to know. Lin then tells him that he can help him achieve a breakthrough and asks him to believe him. The city lord sees that he is still too young, but Lin tells him to give him an attempt, and he is sure to know if he speaks the truth or not. The city lord agrees, and Lin immediately uses his attributes to establish that the city lord's 3 elements are out of balance, and it has to be resolved. The city lord then asks him if he has a solution, and Lin tells him that he has a solution, but he has to borrow Lazing Desert ability. The city lord becomes surprised that he knows about it too, and he begins to plan with Lin on how to stop the attackers. The city lord then asks him what he plans on doing, and Lin tells him to lend him the 5 elemental array, and the city lord becomes surprised how he can activate the array, as he thought he was the only one that could activate it. Lin immediately asks Qin what he thinks about the array, and Qin decides to try it out. Win tries it out and sees that the array is very strong, and Lin tells him to lay attention as it has a fatal weakness. Lin tries to go into the array, and Ming immediately tells him to be careful, and the city lord sees that his daughter has fallen in love with Lin. Lin walks into the array, and they all become surprised, and he asks the city lord to come in as there is something wrong with the array. The city lord ignores him, and Lin asks Ming to come in, and he tries to stop her, but she runs in and nothing happens to her. Lin immediately scatters the array, and Ming's father sees that he is really talented and asks him to keep it down for him. Lin tells him that it is unnecessary as he has a way to resolve it, and the city lord plans to trouble him. Lin tells him that there is no need to rush since their enemies have arrived. He wants them to come to meet him there. The city lord agrees, and Lin tells Qin to protect himself if anything happens to the palace. Suddenly his enemies approach the palace, and Lin tells them that he is the one they are looking for and asks them what they want. They suddenly attack him and tell him that they want his life. Lin tries to attack him, but Ming warns him that he has a battle realm cultivation and warns him not to mess around. He sees that Lin is also a battle realm cultivator and realizes that his son was no match for him and plans to kill him. The city lord immediately steps in and blocks him from hitting him. He immediately asks the city lord if he is opposing them, and they agree to join forces and settle old scores with the city lord. The city lord becomes surprised and realizes that they are attacking him all of a sudden instead of attacking Lin. He immediately tells Lin not to help him, but Lin fires an attack on his enemies and asks him if he is sure of his decision. They suddenly become surprised how he is able to know the weak spot of his armor. The city lord immediately opens the blazing desert, and they begin to wonder if they are walking into a trap. They decide to go into the desert, and Ming immediately follows them, and they begin to wonder why the city lord has sent them his daughter and tells her to accept her fate. Ming immediately uses the talisman to create a shield, and she sees that they manage to get it broken, and they charge at her, but Lin immediately blocks him from getting to her, and he uses an attack to send Lin away. He tells him that he is not strong enough to save himself, and tells him that he does not have the strength to save a lady. Lin immediately tells him that he is the one that is stupid as he cannot get them killed because he will not have anyone to sacrifice. He suddenly becomes surprised that he is aware about it and begins to wonder if the city lord had informed him. They also realize that he is right, as he cannot be killed in the desert. Ming then goes to him and asks him if he is okay as he lays on the sand bleeding out. She immediately realizes that he was faking it, and Lin asks them if they plan on using the city lord as a sacrifice later, since they knew about the sacrifice and still plan on killing them. They then plan to hurry with what they came for, as the door for the desert will close, and they begin to plot on killing Ming. Lin immediately grabs Ming and begins to flee, and they begin to go after them, seeing that they are running away. Ming immediately tells Lin that they are catching up to them, but he tells her not to worry as he is going to make a diversion. Lin suddenly summons a desert scorpion to slow them down so he can run with Ming, and they begin to attack the scorpion. Ming sees that he is very powerful and tells Lin that she is not sure they are going to be stopped that easily, and asks if the scorpion was his final card. Lin immediately smiles and tells her that it is too early to jump to conclusions, but she should keep observing at the turn of events. They continue to battle the scorpion, and they see that it is a six-tailed sand scorpion, and they begin to wonder how it manages to appear. The city lord begins to watch their battle and sees that it is a big issue, as the ancestors always set a 100-long-year restriction to pacify it. Sing immediately comes and asks the city lord if they can go in to save Ming, but he tells Sing that the highest number of people that can go in is 4, and they can only rely on Lin to save her. Back at the desert, the men see that the scorpion is about to attack them, and they see that it has reached the 8th heavenly layer of the transcendental realm, and they plan to face it with their full power, since it is coming towards them. They begin to battle the scorpion, and they see that if they did not need Lin for sacrifice, they would have killed him. Ming then asks Lin if the six-tailed sand scorpion can kill them, and Lin in reply tells her that he hopes so. He tells her that it will be difficult, but tells her to leave while they are still distracted. The men begin to battle the scorpion, and they realize that Lin and Ming are gone, and they need to find them immediately. He immediately appears in front of Lin and asks him if he has run enough, and he attacks him. Ming cries out to him and realizes that she is also captured by the men. They immediately ask him to surrender or she dies in their hands. Lin immediately refuses to run away as he sees her as his woman and surrenders to them. They immediately use a seal to tie him up, and they carry them to their destination. They see that they have finally arrived at the heaven and earth pillar, and they see that the pillar was left behind by the heavenly emperor Tien. They immediately sense that the pillar absorbs energy, and it is more frightening than the sand scorpion. He remembers that his master once told him that it is bloodthirsty. Lei Zhang then attacks him, and he lands at the pillar, and it begins to absorb his energy. Li then tells him that he is dumb, and he would like to see who would challenge him for the achievement of the treasure. Ming then tells Lin to follow her out, but he tells her to go first as he would want to deal with Lei. Lin informs him that he has been injured by the scorpion, and it is uncertain who is going to die. Lei tells him that he is still stronger than him, even if he uses only 1/10 of his strength. Lin immediately brings out a puppet to attack him with a sword, and Lei realizes that it's a puppet and goes to attack him again. Lei promises to kill it with his bare hands, and he immediately blows it, unknowing that he has hit the indestructible profound armor. Lei becomes surprised and begins to wonder why the puppet is so strong, and the puppet immediately uses its sword to cut him in pieces. Lei tells him that he sees that he had everything planned out since the beginning, and Lin tells him that he is correct, and it was all prepared for him specially. Lin then tells him that he forgot to add that the scorpion was summoned by him, and he kicks into the pillar. Lei is suddenly consumed by the pillar, and Ming becomes surprised and wonders how Lin was able to take out her father's rivals. Lin then tells himself that he is still not satisfied with the small amount of sacrifices. The pillar begins to act weird, and Lin begins to wonder what it wants. He tells Ming about the ancient history of the pillar, and tells her that it is tainted with violence. He tells her that it wants to consume them, and she begins to wonder why he is still smiling. Lin tells her to calm down as the thing that can suppress it is coming. Suddenly the sand scorpion comes and grabs the pillar, and Ming asks him if the power of the scorpion comes from the heaven and earth pillar. He responds positively to her question, and asks if he would be allowed to stay if he were to take it away. He then promises to get to the pillar and tells her to wait for him and not leave. She warns him to be careful as the beast is too dangerous, but he tells her that it has already been wounded, and it would be easy to defeat. Lin immediately talks to the pillar and tells it to obey him, and he will get it out of the desert. Lin immediately brings out the egg and sees that it is almost time to hatch it, and the city lord sees that the void has collapsed. Sing begins to wonder what is going on, as he is shocked that none of them are out yet. They notice that if it closes up, they will not be able to come out. Singh then brings out the letter he found by his bed, and he hands the letter to the city lord, and the lord realizes that he had it all planned, and begins to wonder if there could be someone like him in the world. Lin hatches the egg and Ming tells him that it looks like a monkey. Lin immediately tells the monkey to take the pillar as it belongs to it, and the monkey grabs the pillar and Lin tells it to kill the scorpion. The monkey immediately prepares to attack the scorpion, and Ming tells Lin that the monkey has been in the transcendental realm the very moment it was born, and she sees the amount of power coming from the monkey. Lin tells her that it has never disappointed him. Lin immediately orders the monkey to gather up all of the sand, and the monkey obeys him and begins to suck up all the sand into the pillar. Ming sees that the sand is being sucked into the pillar, and she asks Lin where they would be heading next. Lin tells her that they need to get out of the desert, but the door is gone. He immediately tells the monkey to destroy the ground, and the monkey uses the pillar to destroy the ground, and Lin tells Ming that they can leave through the ground. Lin then tells Ming to follow him, and they both jump into the hole together. Lin sees that something is wrong and throws a box and expands it and tells them to get into the box. Ming immediately sees that if it was not for the cauldron, she would have died. Ming then asks how the cauldron could stop the attack, and Lin begins to explain to her. He then asks his monkey if it is safe and tells it to throw the pillar down. Ming sees that it is the stray sky, and Lin agrees and plans to heal her up first. If you like this recap, do let me know in the comments, and obviously leave your likes too. Do not forget to share with your friends and subscribe. Above all, activate your notification bell so you don't miss the next recap when it drops. Until next time, do take care and stay safe.